Hey, how's it going? Alex here from IdeaSpot, and in today's WordPress tutorial, you're going to learn how to set up the Wordfence security plugin. So Wordfence is an extremely popular WordPress security plugin, and it includes a free firewall, which is what makes it quite popular. I don't know of many other ways to get a free firewall on WordPress besides by using Wordfence, but the configuration for most cases is pretty easy, but in some cases, it requires a few extra steps. So if you're interested in getting your Wordfence firewall all configured and optimized, keep watching. So the video is divided into sections. Most people will only really need step one, the standard automatic installation. Most cases, it's going to work just fine straight out of the box. Then I've included a section on how to set up the two-factor authentication. That adds an extra layer of security onto your WordPress dashboard login, so you can log in using a phone or a tablet and use a code in addition to your password. And then I've got extra steps 3 and 4. So most people are not going to need these. Step 3 is for some cPanel hosting services where you need to do a manual setup to get the firewall optimized properly. And then step 4 for NGNIX, you need to restrict access to user.ini if your server runs NGNIX. And so often on VPS setups, you'll need to do that by yourself and get that configured properly. But I have links in the description to each section. If you're interested in a particular section, you can just jump straight to that section. But anyway, let's get started. First thing we do is go to plugins and add new from our WordPress dashboard. I've just gone ahead and searched for the word security, and here you can see all the most popular WordPress security plugins. Straight away, you'll notice that Wordfence is by far the most popular, 3 million active installations. Now that is because Wordfence has a very, very generous free version on their plugin. The other ones don't give you as many features in the free version. The pro versions give you more features, but this one, it includes quite a lot of free things. So I'm going to go ahead and install that one. Then just click activate. So as soon as you click activate, you'll get this little pop-up here. You'll have to put your email address in there so it knows where to send security notifications to. You don't need to sign up for the newsletter though, so you can click no there and you can check this box to agree to the terms, click continue. Here, if you've got the premium version, you can put your license in here. We're just going to use the free version just because I'm going to demonstrate the free version is quite fully featured. So just click no thanks there. So now once we're all installed and activated, let's go to the Wordfence option here in our menu. It's going to take us on a little tour. You can read these little tour guide points and click next. And then once we've done that, it is going to ask us to optimize the Wordfence web application firewall. So here we just need to click to configure, and we will get a little pop-up here, and it's going to ask us to optimize the Wordfence firewall. So hopefully it's going to auto detect your server config. It's going to ask you to download a backup of your HT access. So just go ahead and click that. Just in case anything messes up, you can restore it. I've never had a problem, so it's pretty simple. And then just go ahead and click continue. So it says, nice work, the firewall is now optimized. So hopefully that worked out okay for you. Sometimes you have to wait a few minutes for it to actually start working and be optimized, but you may need to refresh this page, but hopefully it works out straight away, straight out of the box. If you're still having issues, I've got some further config later in the video, like I mentioned before, but for now, I'm just going to take you through all the options and the login security and get everything set up. So hopefully the firewall optimized just fine straight out of the box, and then we can just continue here. So let's enable the auto update. Just go ahead and click that one. The next step, we can just go ahead and click all options. So from here, it will work just fine out of the box with all the options left on default. The one I do like to change is the email alert preferences, because it does like to send a lot of email notifications. I don't really need a notification every time an administrator signs in. It's only if I'm signing in from a new place that I'd like to be notified. And equally, non-admin user signs in only from a new device or location, and that'll cut down the number of notifications. The other one you could change if you like, after a while, maybe you could change this to maybe medium or high. Scan results, it might depend on which plugins you're running, what kind of scan results you get. I might actually go ahead and look at doing a scan. As soon as you've installed it, it's going to take you on a little tour through the scan features. You can go ahead and read those, but you can start your first scan and just click that one. It is configured to automatically scan. It'll do a quick scan every single day, and every 3 days, every 72 hours, it'll do a full scan of your whole WordPress install. So pretty nice for a free version to just do that on a schedule. So here it goes. It's just ticking away. This is a fresh version of WordPress, so it shouldn't take too long to scan this website. But there we go. We can see it going through everything. It does malware, content, safety, password strength, vulnerabilities. It goes through and scans your whole website. So that's done. The scan turned out okay. We can go back to all of our options and actually have a look at the scan options. So the basic scan type options, I'll have to leave it on standard. You can drop it down to limited or bump it up to high, or maybe even customize it. But the standard one is the best, and it's not going to come up with too many false positives. If you're really concerned about something, you're worried about a certain plugin or something, use the high sensitivity one. It's going to come up with, probably come up with a few false positives, and you'll have to do diagnostics and figure things out. But the standard one is going to work good for 99% of users. So I'll just leave it on that. Scheduling. With the free version, you don't have a choice. Like I said, it's going to scan every 24 hours and do a complete scan every 72. If you've got the premium version, you can set it to manually scan as you wish. But like I said earlier, you can basically leave all these settings on default and it's going to work just fine. The one thing I will cover here is the two-factor authentication. So the first time we click Login Security, it's going to take us on a little tour of Wordfence 2FA. That's two-factor authentication. So that's where you use your mobile phone or tablet and you run a little code generator. And every time you log into your admin on your WordPress dashboard, besides putting a password in, you can put the little code from your phone. So it gives you an extra layer of security against people trying to log into your dashboard. So go ahead and click the tour. You can whitelist individual IP addresses. You can add a reCAPTCHA on there so robots can't try to log into your page. You don't really need to do any of those, but I do really like to use the two-factor authentication. Only for administrator. You might be able to add editor if you want. If you've got editors on your website, you might want them to use it as well. But for most cases, you're just going to have an administrator. So let's go back to two-factor authentication here. If you've never used a two-factor authentication system before, I'd be surprised, but the two apps that I like are Google Authenticator and Authy. I like Authy because it gives you a option to add a PIN number on the app. If you've got other people using your phone or tablet, it's nice to have a PIN on the actual app. And it gives lots of nice little icons for each security. So you can use that for your Facebook and your Gmail and Amazon. All those things can use two-factor authentication as well. So Authy or maybe Google Authenticator, just download one of those onto your phone or your tablet. Use the camera on your phone or tablet and scan this two-factor authentication code in. Also, save these recovery codes. If you've got these recovery codes, it doesn't matter what happens to your phone or your tablet, you can still get back into your site with one of those codes. So once you've done all that, and you've scanned that into your phone, you've got the code generating on, say, Authy, and you've got that number popping up. After you've scanned that, you can type that number in there and then click activate. And then every time you log in, it's going to ask you to enter the code from your phone and you'll be able to log into your WordPress site more securely with those passwords and codes in combination. That's why it's the two-factor authentication. If worse comes to worse and you lose your phone and you lose all these recovery codes, you can always just go back into your file manager through your hosting and just rename the Wordfence plugin, and then it will disable the two-factor authentication and you can get back into your site normally anyway. So there's that option as well in an emergency. So let's head back to our dashboard. Now this basically wraps up the tutorial for most of us. Most of us will have had our Wordfence all configured. The firewall will be working just fine and you will be good to go. So give the video a thumbs up if it's been helpful so far, and don't forget to subscribe because I'm going to be covering some more WordPress security issues in the next few videos, so stay tuned for those. For those of you who still need a little help getting that firewall working, if you've still got a little optimization message that you need to fix, keep watching because I'm going to cover how to fix that on a lot of cPanel hosts where you need to manually change those PHP settings. So keep watching if that's the case. The first example I'm going to give is how to do this through the SiteGround control panel. Okay, for SiteGround, the process is slightly different. I've just set up a temporary site here on SiteGround and I'll take you through the process. So we go into plugins and we're going to install Wordfence, same as we did before. Then we click activate. We'll get the pop-up to get the notification email address. Just fill that in, say no there and check that box, click continue. And just say no thanks here for the free version. Okay, that will be all installed and activated now. Go over to your Wordfence menu in the dashboard there. Okay, now it's going to say, it'll take you on the tour, but you can just close that off. So it will now say, optimize the Wordfence web application firewall. So this is the bit that's a little bit different. We click here to continue. Okay, now for SiteGround, it actually recommends changing this one to manual configuration. So set that to manual configuration. You can go over to the Wordfence help section and there is a section here called optimizing the firewall. So that's at wordfence.com/help. Scroll down to here, alternative hosting provider setups for optimizing the firewall. And there it's going to show you SiteGround and other similar hosts that use the cPanel. So we have to follow these instructions here. It's going to say manual configuration and then take note of the auto prepend file path displayed. So basically we go here, click continue, and then we'll say it's working. And there we go. We've got that auto prepend file path here. So the best thing to do here is probably just copy this because you're going to need that later. I'm just going to copy that and then put it into a notepad and I'll use that a bit later. So I'll just hit close there. Okay, so now let's go back to our instructions to set this up. So take note of the auto prepend file, which we just did. Go to your site cPanel and click PHP variable manager icon. So this depends on the exact version of cPanel that your host uses, but we're going to be using SiteGround obviously. So SiteGround account, go to your site tools. Site tools will take you here. Go down to devs and you've got PHP manager sitting there and you've got PHP variables tab there. So go ahead and click that. You're going to need to scroll down. You probably need to hit load more once or twice before you can find that. I'm just going to try and find this auto prepend file. So just find that auto prepend file value there. So now I'm just going to click edit on that value and we can just get our notepad and get the path that we've got before from the Wordfence setup. So just copy that. No need to copy the apostrophes. We just want the path with the PHP file name there. I'm going to just paste that in there and hit confirm. So that will take a second. Then we'll get our little success message and the auto prepend file is now linked to our Wordfence WAF PHP. All right, so now if we go back to our actual firewall page here, you can probably hit reload. And there we go, the message has gone away. So that means it's all set up protection level is now set to extended protection. So that means our firewall is all working and this has gone okay. All we have to do now is, yes, let's enable the auto update. And now we're pretty much good to go. From here, all of your options and your login security settings, you can use the same methods that we've followed already in the video and just apply them here on SiteGround. The only difference was that for SiteGround, like we just saw, the firewall optimization process was just that little bit different, but hopefully I've managed to help you get through that. So thumbs up if you found that helpful. But anyway, let's continue on with the video. For those of you using a cPanel shared host, but it's not SiteGround, it's something else, you can follow a similar process. Just follow those steps on the Wordfence help. And you can click here, and it has screenshots that demonstrate the steps. So a normal looking control panel will look something like that. You just have to find that PHP variables manager. Usually that's in your on the front of your cPanel somewhere. You just have to scroll until you find that PHP variables manager, and then just follow the steps on the Wordfence help screenshots there. So similar process, you're just linking it to that Wordfence WAF path, but that isn't particularly difficult, but you just have to be aware of it if you're getting those issues during the firewall optimization process. The other thing worth noting is the Wordfence firewall optimization process for Pagely and Kinsta. Again, those are a little bit different and they're detailed on the same Wordfence help file. So if you're using one of those, just go through and follow those instructions and just be aware of that just to get your, make sure the config is all set up properly. And the last thing I'm going to go through here is hiding user.ini if your server runs NGNIX. So you can get to that same thing through optimizing the firewall. It says hiding the user.ini if your server runs NGNIX. This will come up during the actual firewall optimization. I'll just go through that as a demonstration now. Okay, so I've just set up a temporary website on an NGNIX server and just installed Wordfence and activated it. So under Wordfence in the dashboard, we've got this pop-up to say optimize the Wordfence web application firewall. So we'll just click here to configure. And here we're going to have this pop-up for optimizing the Wordfence firewall, and it's going to detect NGNIX here. So here is where it explains that it's going to create that user.ini, and you're going to need to restrict access to it. And it has instructions on our documentation site. I'm going to open that in a new tab. So that takes us right where we were before. It's a matter of editing the NGNIX conf file and putting that little bit of code in. So let's go back here and let's click continue. So that will actually set up a little bit of the process, and we click close, but we still have to change that user.ini file. So it's still going to have that pop-up message here, and when you click to configure, it's going to still say the same thing. So user.ini, it needs to be restricted. So here now we've got a chance to back up our user.ini. So go ahead and download that backup, and then let's hit continue again. And there we go, we've got a successful installation, and we'll hit close. So now let's go ahead and do that configuration file that they recommended. So if you're using a virtual private server, a VPS, you can find this NGNIX conf in your NGNIX conf folder. If you're using shared hosting that uses NGNIX, you might just have to email your support or raise a support ticket. Just send them the link to what you're trying to do, and they can sort that out for you pretty easily. But if you're running your own VPS, I'm going to just show you how you would add this code in. So NGNIX, you'll find that here under etc/nginx, nginx.conf. So you just go SSH or SFTP into your server and find that file. Go ahead and download it. It'll look something like this. Just scroll down to the bottom of that conf file and then go and grab that little bit of code, pop that here. So just copy that code and then just paste it onto the bottom of your NGINX conf file. Go ahead and save that and upload it into your server and replace the old one, or just edit it live with on your SSH and do it that way. Either way will be fine. So once we go back to our Wordfence dashboard for our NGINX setup, you will find that everything's working okay now, and I'm just going to enable auto update for this one as well. So that wraps everything up. So we covered standard install, we covered install on SiteGround or with cPanel install, and we covered a little bit about NGINX there. So, I mean, hopefully you've managed to get Wordfence all configured properly and running, because it is a pretty cool little security plugin for WordPress. It's just there is a little bit of configuration to it. This turned into a fairly technical video, so hopefully it was helpful and hopefully you got where you needed to be by the end of it here. But anyway, I'm going to be covering some more about WordPress security over the coming weeks, so hit subscribe if you're going to be interested in that. But otherwise, I'm going to be coming out with more WordPress tutorials in the future. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.